sick. And wanted to go home. Leave all your burdens, never more to roam. Have you ever felt like shouting or praising out when Jesus lifts you up right out of down? Have you ever felt small and out of place? Needed someone to talk to and a friendly face. Have you ever been burdened down and about to die? Needed some reassurance from the Father on high.
Yeah.
Have
All
you
the time.
ever thanked God for His dear Son, who had great mercy and reached down His arm? Have you ever been blessed, felt the strength of God's hand while traveling through this troublesome land? Have you ever felt lonely in your soul, looking for Jesus coming, being ready to go? A place is prepared in heaven on high for the ones who serve Jesus before they die.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
I need your prayers this morning. Lord.
Come on.
This morning I'm like about as prepared as that little Jehovah's Witness who, no doubt in my mind, probably had everything laid out, had everything to say, and then walked up to Sam Whittington's door. Thought we were prepared, but then when we get faced with it, maybe we should have done a little bit more research. Maybe we should have done a little bit more.
Be fun.
You know, but I can't help, no matter what I do, no matter what I read, no matter what goes on during the week, I can't help but to be in awe of the glory of God. The Bible says, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of His glory."
Yep. Yep.
You know, I read about a time when God said, "Let us create man in our own image."
Yep.
This world is full.
What we've done.
This world that we live in is full of different ways you can see the glory of God. I can think right now of over 6 billion different ways. Created in His image.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, I'm sure a lot of people have good intention, but we need to do a little bit more than what we do here today. We need to be a little bit more prepared. You know, I witnessed a guy who was talking with someone. I'm sure the person he was talking to was an atheist, and I could tell the little guy was trying. He was trying to be a good voice for the Lord. And
Been there.
he had mentioned something like the Lord wrote the Bible or something like that. And, you know, I'm sure he meant no harm by it, but no, the Lord didn't necessarily write the Bible the way that he was saying. And that little atheist, God, it gave him a lot of ammunition. He said, God never wrote any books. But you know, I beg to differ here this morning. I know of a lot of books that my Lord has wrote. You see, you think about, just like Brother Larry said, men and women in this world. A book is nothing more than you've got a cover, and in between it you've got a lot of information. You've got chapters, you've got verses. You see, there's a lot of people in this world that if you were to ask them, did somebody write this book? Well, obviously someone wrote it because of all the information inside. You've got a cover and you've got a back cover here, and there's a lot of information right in between. And if you were to ask someone, did somebody write that, or did it just speak itself into existence? You know, brother, and they would say, well, obviously someone wrote it. But then, you know, our minds, as we get smarter and as we get more educated, we start to learn things, and then we think we've got it all figured out. And then you break down, you look at a human's DNA, it's nothing different than you've got a cover, and down inside you've got different chapters, you've got different verses. Listen, my Lord wrote a lot of books here in this world, and you know, these books here, they've all got the same beginning. Listen, but a lot of them, they're going to have different endings. You're going to have or you've only got 2 ways you can end this book here today. Listen, my Lord, I'm awful thankful that He sent His Son to start my book out and to die for my sins. But listen, you know, there has to be a chapter in that book somewhere where you got to turn and say, Lord, Lord, I'm going to lay it all in your hands, Lord. You got to have that blood on your book here this morning. Listen, my Lord, I can't, like I said, I can't help but to be amazed in all and the things of the Lord. You know, I read and I read, and you know, one of my favorite things to do, I like looking at pictures of space. Have you ever looked at them? Listen, all the different galaxies, all the different planets, all the different constellations and nebulas. And you know, I seen a man talking about, you know, if the Lord, made all these things and made this great big expansive universe, why did He pick just a little planet and put a bunch of human beings on it just out in the middle of this big vast universe? Well, you know, I read a psalm here, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament sheweth His handiwork. Listen, the heavens declare the glory of God. You see, my God, you think that it's small here, that we've got it all figured out. No, listen, look at that big expansive universe. No wonder it's so big. If it's got to have the glory of God, listen, that's why it's so big. Listen, and you know, we don't even know how big it is here today, and we continue to look, and we continue to try to find different things, and we try to educate ourselves. Listen, we live in a world that wants to go, and they're hoping and praying.
Yeah.
Maybe not praying, but they're hoping that they're going to find something out there that can put people like us in our place. Listen, if you want to look, keep on looking, because everything you're going to find, you're only going to find the glory of my Lord up there in that space. And you want to talk about some canvas, brethren, what a canvas he had to paint with there. Listen, all the things in this world that we marvel upon and think are so beautiful, brethren, I can just look at those pictures. Listen, and you know, there's nothing I've seen in this world that can compare to them. Not a thing in this world that can compare to the beauty that my Lord didn't have to give us. You know, they say we're no different than most animals. Just the way that our brains work, and God made us different for a reason. And what amazes me more and more every day is how self-sustaining a world He gave us and a life that He gave us. Listen, that separates us from the beasts of the land. It separates us from the plants of the earth and the rocks and the dirt. We're all made of pretty much the same kind of things. But see, it takes a different kind of diet to keep me alive than it does a monkey. It's a different kind of, I couldn't live on the same diet that something that evolved to me. Some believe that, you know. I'm so undeserving here this morning of my Lord and the things He's done for me. You know, it wasn't too long ago, brethren, that I was trying to invite a friend out. I always get the same excuse. Something always comes up, you know. My friend Mike at work and his daughter. It's his weekend to have his daughter, and I invited him out to church, and it was on a Saturday. It was probably last Saturday we had, or the Saturday before that. And, you know, he was saying that she had croup. She's just a little baby, you know, 9 months old or whatever. Said she had croup. First time he'd ever seen anything like that. And he said, you know, I was nervous. I took her to the hospital and stuff, and it made me start to think a little bit, because I remember when Delilah, you know, I've seen her have the croup twice, and that is scary when they start breathing like that. And I remember the first time it happened, we rushed to the hospital there, and out here in Mount Airy, and when we got in there, they told me they're going to give her a shot of steroids in her leg, and you know, that bothered me, not because I knew it was necessarily going to hurt, but I figured she was going to cut a big fit and embarrass me. But you know, they came in there with that needle, and I just told her, I said, you know, if you don't look at it, it won't hurt. And she said, okay. And she said, well, hold my hand, and I held her hand, and she didn't even wince in pain. They gave her that shot, and she didn't even notice it, brother. And you know, when the sister here is talking about Enoch being sick the way he is, Delilah was the same way with her breathing when it would get cold or when it would get in winter months. And it wasn't too long after that I had to take her back again, because that was going on again. And, you know, they look at it out there, they say, well, you can take her outside in that cold air and stuff, and that can help. No, when my child's breathing the way she is, it scares me. And, you know, I brought her back in anyways, and there they came with that shot. Listen, they were going to do the same thing again. I said, remember what I said. I said, if you close your eyes and you don't look at it, it ain't going to hurt. And she said, well, Last time I didn't look, but you held my hand. Will you hold my hand just one more time? And that's what I did there, brother, and I forgot all about it. And sometimes in this world, I get awful low. I try not to look at the troubles that I got, but they're still there anyway. I need something else in this world. All I need here today is for the Lord to hold my hand just one more time. That maybe I can say something to break a heart here in this room. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, no. I want you to come this morning. I want you to be brokenhearted, and I want you to have a little bit of faith here today. Listen, a little bit of faith like, no, not like we have in this world. We have faith in politicians. We have faith in famous people. No, I'm talking about something like maybe Daniel. Listen, how they had set those decrees there against him. They had 120 princes there. They had their own little regions that they had to take care of. And Daniel found a lot of favor in the eyes of the king there. Listen, in Daniel, brethren, he had faith. You know, the Bible says that Daniel was a great man, not because of his faith in politics or anything like that. You can guarantee that all those princes and all those men who ruled, they had their politics. But Daniel, listen, you know, Daniel, he had a faith in a higher power. He had faith in the King of Kings here today. Listen, and he would always go down in prayer and open those windows toward Jerusalem. And he would pray. And that jealousy, no doubt, set in on those other governors and princes there. So they went to Darius to set a decree that, listen, if anybody were to do those things like that there, listen, that the punishment would be death. And you know, Daniel still went and opened those windows toward Jerusalem and still went down in prayer, and they caught him there. And you know, that punishment being death put him down in that lion's den. Listen, and you know what? Listen, Darius, it had to have troubled him there because it said he stayed up. He couldn't sleep. And you know, I often wonder what was Darius doing in those hours. Have you ever been at that point? I'm sure you have, where you didn't know what to do. That was where Darius was. You want to talk about being humbled. Darius had got humbled right there and realized his mistake. I bet I would love to have seen Darius. I would have loved to have heard those prayers that he probably sent to Daniel's God. Listen, and that morning, listen, Darius took off, went probably as fast as he could to Daniel, there to that lion's den, and listen, only to find out that the Lord of Daniel, the God that Daniel served, had closed the mouth of lions. Listen, that he was saying, have you ever been down? Have you ever been worried? And you just pray as hard as you can pray because you don't have anything else that you can do. This world takes everything out of your hands. So you get down and you pray, and then you get a little bit of deliverance. What kind of a feeling is that when you get that deliverance, when you have been praying as hard as you can? I guarantee that when Darius called out to Daniel and he heard his voice, oh brother, and I felt that way before. Listen, when I got down and I prayed and I wondered, and Lord God, when He delivers that feeling that comes over you, listen, it breaks my heart every time. I just want to picture Darius when he heard that voice. I could see his face. I don't even know what the man looks like, but I could see the joy. Listen, that probably came over his face there.
That's right.
Many a times, and you know, Sister Carol had brought up Rachel, and many a times that I prayed, You know, I think some of the best prayers that I've ever prayed are when I'm by myself or when I'm really put in that situation.
Yeah.
Try your faith.
When I'm really put in the situations where I get worried and I have nowhere else to turn. You know, my wife, like, she has been having those fits where she was passing out and getting weak, blood pressure's low, and you know, ever since I've been with her, I've been majority of my life kind of healthy. I'm rarely sick. I'll probably get sick when I leave here today now. But I'm rarely sick. But I remember when we first moved here to North Carolina, it was down at the Baptist Hospital for 4 days. We were living in Winston, and for 4 days I thought she had the flu because she had a fever and she had chills real bad, and she just didn't do anything for long. She would just lay in bed and she was sick. And you know, I noticed that after 2 or 3 days, there nobody else in the house had got sick, but I was just about positive she had the flu. And after that 3rd day, I told her, I said, if you're still, she wouldn't let me take her to the doctor. I said, if you're still sick, I have to take you. Because this isn't.
Yeah, something.
It's not good for your temperature to stay at 104, go down to 100, come back up to 104 3 hours later when we thought we had it under control. Because, you know, I was scared. I couldn't do anything about it there. I don't have any special remedies or anything that could have helped her out there. So I took her to the emergency room. You know, I could have waited the next morning and took her to some clinic, and they probably could have helped out and been a lot cheaper. But listen, you know, you get worried sometimes, and you know, the first thing I did, I turned to the hospital there. I don't even know if I'd prayed. I was just worried there, and we went into that hospital, and we were sitting there, and it was about the time when flu season was bad, and I had both kids with me at the time, and you know, they took her back there in the emergency room, and it was just Delilah sitting next to me. And Abel was asleep in my arms. He was just a baby. And listen, I seen a cop come in to that waiting area there and go into a little conference room. And you know, a family came, just a bunch of women, and there was a man with them. They came in and followed him into that conference room, and it was awful quiet in that waiting room. You could tell people didn't want to be there. The TV was even on mute. And then I heard coming from that conference room, those women were just screaming. I could tell that that cop gave them some bad news, and they weren't prepared for. It was so loud that it woke Abel up. He jumped in my arms, and Delilah asked me what was going on. And I said, I didn't want to lie to her. I said, I think that cop may have told them that they lost somebody in their family, you know. And she said, well, that's okay. She's just a little girl. I said, well, that's okay. He's probably with Jesus now. And you know, all those women were coming out. And you know, that cop told me, he said, can you get me a nurse? Can you get me somebody to help? Because these women were just falling out everywhere. One even started vomiting because she was so worked up. And that man just stood over there next to us. And you know, my daughter looked at him and tried to start talking to him there. She's a social butterfly, brother. She ain't like me. She looks like me, but she don't act like me. And started talking to him there. And somehow, I don't even know how, they got to talking about church. And he said, well, what church do you go to? And she said, well, I go to church in Kentucky. Listen, and they kept talking and kept talking. And you know, one of those women came over there and started talking to that man. And Delilah looks at him, and that woman said, do you know that Jesus lives in the sky? And you want to talk about some relief. Listen, the tension in that room was so thick you could have cut it with a knife. And she looked at him and said, do you know that Jesus lives in the sky? You want to talk about that thickness, get a little thinner. And those women kept coming over, and they were smiling and talking to her. It gave them a little bit of comfort just from her mouth. But then the doctors had told me there, listen, that Rachel was going to have to be there a lot longer. And Chris and Carol came to my house and met me and got the kids because we were going to have to stay overnight. And on my way back to that hospital, I was just a young Christian. We need to be reading a little bit more. I was reading and reading. And at the time, my favorite book to read was Matthew. And there in Matthew there, I read about the woman who had gave up everything. Listen. They had called me on my way back, and they had told me that Rachel had an infection that had set up in her kidneys that she had had problems with for so long. Listening, that it had set up that infection and it had leaked into her blood, and that's why she kept getting the fever she was getting, and that's the reason she was sick. So I started thinking, and as I was driving, and I thought about the lady with the issue of blood. Not the same issue that we're talking about here, but still yet an issue. Listen, and you know, I remember I was thinking, well, she got healed, and I know ever since I've been with this girl, all she talks about is church. When I first met her, she told me I had to go to church with her before she'd even go out with me. So I was thinking, well, she's got some faith, Lord. Lord, will you just be in the midst for a moment of time, that just like that lady who called and fought her way through that crowd, just to touch the hem of his garment. Lord God, won't you be in the midst here today, that she could reach out and touch the hem of your garment. There's a lot of people in this world with an issue of blood today. Listen, and they need to reach out today and touch the hem of his garment. And you know, they got her temperature back down just a little bit, and we finally got released after a couple days. We went up to Kentucky because we didn't have a church here, and they laid hands on her there in Kentucky because she was having to go see a specialist about her kidneys. You all know it better than I do, the problem she's had with them her whole life. And you know, when I was first married to her, that's all. It seemed like there was problems every other week with them. Laid hands on her, and they go listen, and they do their tests when we get back to North Carolina, only to find out that those kidneys are repairing themselves just a little bit, and baffling those doctors. And baffling me. You see, this world wants proof. My proof didn't come just on the day that I joined church, or the day that I went down on my knees. It's a testament of my proof. It seems like a building block every day. I've said it before, I'm building my mansion here today.
Let's go inside.
And those stones come from every time that I'm down in this world and I seek a little blessing, and my Lord gives it to me. It seems like my mansion gets a little bit bigger. If people want proof in this world, it starts on your knees. And I'm telling you, since that time, it hasn't stopped being proved to me ever since.
Amen.
Too many things are acting on coincidence.
That's right. That's right.
That I never would have noticed if I didn't give my life to the Lord. From the moment we left Kentucky through Tennessee here in North Carolina, I worried, being young in the church, that it was over for us and that we'd have to just travel up to Kentucky every other weekend or every month or something like that. Just go visit a little church there in Pilot Mountain and come across a woman who was dying to start a church in the old Baptist, and now I can raise my kids in it.
That's right.
But to a world like this, that just happened.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of the way and let Jeremy come. You come on, Jeremy.